Now let's set the record straight. There's no argument over the choice between peace and war, but there's only one guaranteed way you can have peace, and you can have it in the next second: surrender. Admittedly, there's a risk in any course we follow other than this, but every lesson of history tells us that the greater risk lies in appeasement. And this is the specter our well-meaning liberal friends refuse to face. The policy of accommodation is appeasement. And it gives no choice between peace and war, only between fight or surrender. If we continue to accommodate, continue to back and retreat, eventually we have to face the final demand, the ultimatum. And what then? When Nikita Khrushchev has told his people he knows what our answer will be. He has told them that we're retreating under the pressure of the Cold War, and someday, when the time comes to deliver the final ultimatum, our surrender will be voluntary, because by that time, we will have been weakened from within spiritually, morally, and economically. He believes this because from our side he's heard voices pleading for peace at any price, or better read than dead, or as one commentator put it, he'd rather live on his knees than die on his feet. And therein lies the road to war, because those voices don't speak for the rest of us. You and I know and do not believe that life is so dear and peace so sweet as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery. If nothing in life is worth dying for, when did this begin? Just in the face of this enemy? Or should Moses have told the children of Israel to live in slavery under the Pharaohs? Should Christ have refused the cross? Should the patriots at Concord Bridge have thrown down their guns and refused to fire the shot heard round the world? The martyrs of history were not fools. And our honored dead, who gave their lives to stop the advance of the Nazis, didn't die in vain. Where then is the road to peace? Well, it's a simple answer after all. You and I have the courage to say to our enemies, there is a price we will not pay. There is a point beyond which they must not advance. Winston Churchill said the destiny of man is not measured by material computations. When great forces are on the move in the world, we learn they're spirits, not animals. He said there's something going on in time and space and beyond time and space, which, whether we like it or not, spells duty. You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We'll preserve for our children this, the last best hope of men on earth, or we'll sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness.
Logbook podcast, you guys. We have a lot to talk about tonight, but first let's bring up our guest, Mama Sally, who will be joining us tonight.
How you doing, man?
Hello, everybody.
Welcome. Miss Mama Sally is from the podcast Truck It. We welcome her today because we are going to sit here and actually play with you guys as we review the horrors over the NDAA, which is the National Defense
Authorization Act.
Right. It was a shit show, a kangaroo circus. It was, I mean, I would tell you this. There was a lot of entertainment value in it. I tell you what. But every time these crazies get in there and speak, I'm surprised. I'm just surprised almost every time. It's just how much worse it could be. I'm very happy to see Gates come in and step in. But the NDAA was 5 hours long. So tonight we only have short snippets of heated moments within the NDAA. They're juicy, they're laughable, and that's why we're going to play the game.
Delegates or dictators.
So, which we all know, how many are on the House floor this time, and how many true delegates we have, and how many dictators we have. So, do we have those videos up, Dakota?
Yes, we do. We are going
Let's jump in it. I'm ready to go. Got my little sign ready.
Guys, just a reminder, this is a live show. I know we do records, but hop in the chat box. Let us know as we review what's going on. The National Defense Authorization Act is where they vote on what's going to be in for the next bill.
Well, let's get going.
Here we go. Not next bill, for the defense fund.
Without objection, the reading of the amendments dispensed with. The lady from New York is recognized. explain her amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My amendment is common sense and very straightforward. It establishes a Parents' Bill of Rights for our service members with dependent children attending DODIA schools. Last year, during this very markup in this very committee room, the same amendment received 12 yes votes from my Democrat colleagues across the aisle. And I'm urging all my colleagues to once again recognize this amendment as common sense policy. Simply, this amendment provides America's service members with the right to be informed and involved in their children's education. Serving our country, we must ensure that our men and women in uniform are empowered to have the same involvement with their kids' education as all other Americans across the country. Parents are the primary stakeholders in the child's education, and decades of research shows that parental involvement is critical to academic achievement and long-term success. My office has received outreach from service members who are concerned and alarmed that they do not have access to what their children are being taught in DODIA schools. According to polling done by DODIA itself, we know that service members are feeling less and less empowered when it comes to their children's education. This is unacceptable. A Parents' Bill of Rights for service members will not only encourage parental involvement in their kids' education, but it will also provide transparency so parents can see for themselves what their children are being taught in schools and determine if it is developmentally appropriate for their children and aligned with high academic standards. It will also protect service members' right to speak up and be heard, providing them opportunities to engage with the school board or advisory committee about the education their children are receiving, and helping them develop a relationship with each of their child's teachers during the school year. It also includes parental notification requirements of any medical exam screenings. We know on this committee that America's men and women in uniform already face extraordinary burdens while serving our country, from months or year-long deployments away from their families to the lack of availability of adequate childcare at installations across the globe, to the lack of employment opportunities for military spouses. Simply put, parents in uniform have more obstacles than most are aware of, so it is our responsibility to advocate for those families and their children as they are constantly on the lookout for us, protecting our national security. I urge all my colleagues to once again support this straightforward, bipartisan amendment that passed through this committee last year, and I yield back.
Okay. I have something to say here. So let's go back, way back in the day to Obama and that 2000 DHS report, right-wing extremism. Now, Napolitano, y'all can see this. I have reels on it on Facebook. Go look at it. Napolitano called veterans extremists, terrorists. And she set up an organization with James Comey to actually, anyone who stands for the 2A, stand up against borders, stands against abortion. And Comey put in school boards in 2017. Yes, he sure did. You're a terrorist.
Absolutely right.
So no, service members cannot go speak to their school boards. And then, during the pandemic, what happened behind closed doors with Lloyd Austin was what, Dakota?
Utter bullshit is what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So behind closed doors, they were arresting service members for refusing the jab is what they were doing.
Well, that's some of it. But
they were mostly getting upset because, the service members didn't want to take the vaccine. Well,
not only that, is that there was a closed door hearing that happened in 2021. And here's the thing, if you wanted to look at if you even put it in Google in the search engine, you're not going to find it. It's that hidden. We actually had to go through DuckDuckGo and other search engines. And that's where we found it, is that there was a hearing where Austin expounded on extremism, and that's when he came up against the Boogaloo Boys. He came up against several other military affiliated organizations pushing this narrative, this diatribe of extremism, of conservative views. And what expounded that was January 6th. Then on top of that, the COVID-19, boom, conservative voices in the military were done. Completely done. And that's why we have someone like Lance Corporal Arnett, who was arrested for refusing the jab. She has requested captain's mast. She has requested a court-martial. Was a court martial granted? Was due process granted? No. There is tyranny among our troops right now, and no one bats an eye, because here's the thing. Has anyone ever seen a school board hearing for DOD schools?
No.
No life.
No. There's not one. Tell me that this isn't happening behind closed doors.
Absolutely. I mean, it's been happening behind closed doors in small communities across America. And when parents come in to step up and say, hey, look, this is my kid, not yours.
Exactly. And if
They are getting branded as terrorists.
right, and if they defy it, they're kicked out. And what's actually showing that? Oh, the retention numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, retention's high, but it's the number, because people know when they get out, they're not going to be able to find a job.
No,
That's right.
And here's the thing: these parents can't address the schools while they're in the military as well, because these teachers and these staff that work at these schools can report the parents to their commands.
Exactly. And then they're out of a job, or they're written out.
And that's bullshit. That's bullshit.
They're using the kids to hold the parents hostage. And they can't talk about it. They can't come to social media. Oh, because there's going to be some fucking snitch in the office saying, hey, fucking sergeant, look at this shit. So there's tyranny going on within our active duty military. And I guarantee you there's some that are glad that they got out because they saw it coming. They saw the writing on the wall with COVID-19. And the thing is, if we can't keep our military a total volunteer force, we are sunk. We are not the banner of freedom that we need to be.
No, we're not.
Guys, if you'd like this more information on these manuals that I have, because actually I'm going to go with military, they're pubs. We have them. We will send them to you. We have the 2009 Making Prevention a Reality report. We had a report in 2021 from Lloyd Austin. We had the 2017 Making Prevention a Reality. We have the terrorist guidebooks. We even have the video game. Get this, the video game that the FBI put out in schools for anti-terrorism.
Really?
Yes, there was a video game. And the funny thing is that the reason why the FBI took it down is that Al-Qaeda was actually playing the video game and doing pretty good at it.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Training themselves to infiltrate is what it was.
Training the terrorists to how to terrorize the terrorists, terrorizing the terrorists.
How to recognize. So it's basically a game that teaches kids to spot out right-wing extremists and terrorists. So you're basically teaching the enemy what not to do in order to get spotted out.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh.
It was ridiculous, and it was immediately pulled down. But if you actually go on YouTube and you can find the game and you can actually watch the Halua Akbar sitting there fucking playing it. And they have videos of it. It's hilarious, actually. It's a good thing. Get a little drunk before you do that. It's great.
Of everything that we spend our tax dollars on, something like that would be further from my mind.
Yeah.
Right.
But they are there. But so basically, I see what this congresswoman is doing. She knows very much about what's going on.
Mm-hmm. It's bad enough we've trained the drug cartels in our military tactics, so they've gone back and trained the cartels south of the border to be military styles. Mm-hmm. So they know how to beat our border patrol. They know how to beat our army, and still get the drugs and human trafficking through.
Well, of course they do. You had lobbying groups like moms.
Mm-hmm.
They were constantly coming after the Marine Corps to lower the standards of their little baby boys, and they would cry about things. And I remember they came over and were trying to on base help out with donations, getting furniture, clothing, a little resale shop going on. But then they started sitting there, I guess, putting out their propaganda to the troops, and especially through the wives. And you have these young, impressionable, and I would say this, these young girls, and they're girls because of the fault of our education system, who don't know the world. So they lead on their feelings versus thinking what they're being hand fed by these groups is utter bullshit. Because it's not their guy's home.
Well, it's bad enough they lowered the physical endurance testing for the girls in the military so that they could pass and be Marines.
They did that, I believe, for the combat side. That's what we were pretty pissed off about that a lot.
Yeah, I do.
Hey, if they can't do what the guys do in combat, they don't need to be there. And that's coming from a female. I'm a tough female.
Right.
I'm a tough old bird here.
And I will say
that if you can't do what you're supposed to do in that zone, then you don't need to be there.
No, there was only like I think 2 badass ones that actually made it and did a fucking badass job. But what people didn't realize is that we already had female combat units.
Yeah.
And what it is you'll see them, they'll have the shawls on their faces. I forgot what they're called, but you can go pick them up at your military surplus. And
Afghans?
No, they would pick them up and have these women's units to actually search women. And the women were just as deadly as the men. These women were no joke, full combatant and everything. But the thing is that I've noticed this is that I remember when combat, I was in when they were pushing the combat. One, it was pushed by a Girl Scout, it wasn't pushed by, service members. 2, you got a lot of girls sitting here saying, well, all of us, we don't want to sit there and rock like that. 1, we don't want to go, we won't want to be sterile from it because we want families. 2, I don't want to fuck up my knees. Yes, I'll do my 4-year service, as an 0311, but it's going to do damage to me for the rest of my life. No, thank you. Okay, I'd rather use my brain, which most women prefer to do, and they go for tech jobs if they can pass that. That way. They play it smart. So it's not even hearing women at this point in the military.
The thing is, they're trying so hard with all this diversity and inclusion and everything like that they're trying to co-ed everybody. Everybody has to coexist together. I'm sorry, a 160-pound female cannot carry a 220-pound dude on her shoulders.
But the thing is, you won't get really 160. Well, you said 160, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah. And that's a stocky one.
That's a stocky one. That's one who's going to the gym. That's one who's bulking up to do the job that she has to do. Even after all that bulking up, those guys are bulking up too.
Yep.
And muscle weighs more than fat.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and get after it.
Discussion on the General Ladies Amendment. The gentleman from California, Mr. Carbajal, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last year, we were introduced to the same amendment by my colleague. I agree. Parents should be able to know what's happening in their schools. I voted in good faith for that amendment at the time, but after looking into this further, here's the thing. Parents can already do that. I quote from the procedures manual for the DODEA, quote, while a student is currently enrolled in a DODEA school, the student or the student's parents, legal guardians, may access their student's records maintained at the student's school by making a request for such access. DODEA also has several parent handbooks available to parents and the public addressing how they handle privacy, medical information, grading, and curriculum information, parent-teacher conferences, and the handling of violence in schools. So really, my colleague is asking to pass an amendment that provides rights that our service members' parents already have. I fear that my colleague knows this and is instead focused on bringing more culture wars, book bans, and fear-mongering into the DOD schools. I saw the rhetoric that ensued after our hearing last time. I have come to realize that this amendment is a Trojan horse, disguising a push to snuff out free discussions of ideas or differing experiences in language. I oppose this amendment, and I urge all my colleagues to do the same. Mr. Chair, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Chair now recognizes gentleman from Indiana, Mr. Banks.
Thank you, Mr.
I'm sorry, but that's just such a line of bullshit.
Okay, we got dictator number 1. Well, do we count the first lady who wrote the bill as a delegate?
We should count her as delegate from New York.
Will we count her as a delegate?
Yeah, because what I don't necessarily understand with what this going on, they're victimized that, saying that we should probably keep this stuff out of there, but they're the ones that put it in there. And now they're victimized by it.
Mm-hmm.
Total narcissism.
Then we have the first lady that came on before saying, actually being out there representing the people who are office and passing the message on to Congress, being a delegate.
No, she was writing her bill. That was her bill. And that's how that happened. So that's why she got the floor in recognition of her bill.
But at least it was a good bill.
It is a good bill because she's actually hearing the people not in her district, but around the United States and what's going on in the schools.
Yeah.
So,
Number 2, however, was an absolute dictator.
He doesn't listen to his constituents in his districts. I guarantee you he does what Lizzie Fletcher does. He'll hold his town halls. He fill out a card. He picks the ones that he wants to talk about. He'll never, ever represent his conservative constituents. So let's go back up.
To applaud Representative Stefanik for her leadership in defending parents' rights and military kids. Studies have shown that nearly a full third of our service members have said that dissatisfaction with their child's education was a significant factor in their decision to remain or to leave the military service. There are over 1.6 million military children serving alongside our armed forces. And any of us who have served in uniform know the stress that occurs in juggling our service with also maintaining a family and putting our kids first. With recruitment and retention at dangerous levels, we need to do everything that we can to open lines of communication and increase transparency for our military parents to ensure they are given every opportunity to be involved with their children's education. We have seen too much evidence of the left's woke ideology centered around an obsession with DEI and transgenderism being taught in our schools or in or around military bases. Establishing a Parents' Bill of Rights for our service members will protect their right to have their voice heard during the school year and will improve relationships with parents and the school's administrators and teachers, ultimately ensuring that military children receive the best education possible. I think this is a really important amendment, one of the most important amendments that we've debated yet today. I fully support it. Hope all of you will join me in voting for it as well. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back.
Okay, so we got a delegate.
Delegate, definitely.
I mean, he's absolutely right. Parents are tired of having to deal with this DII and CRT crap.
DEI.
DEI.
I know.
Yeah.
You want to say die.
I want to say die
That's
anyway.
pretty much what it is.
That's exactly what it is. But yeah, parents are tired of dealing with this, and all they're asking for is a say. And the thing is,
to raise their kids.
Yeah. And the thing is, their representatives are coming and saying that they don't have a say. However, the people that don't listen to their constituents are saying that they do have a say.
That's what I don't understand about this whole LGBT, all this stuff. No conservative is sitting there. Well, no, I'll take that back. There are conservatives that are sitting there saying that it's completely wrong. Well, yeah, it's completely wrong to you. That's your freedom of speech. It might not be wrong to them, and I'm going to have the conservatives say that. If you want to raise your kids in LGBTQ, whatever, it's fine. Do it. I don't care. Okay? That's your freedom too. However, it is not your freedom to sit there and have your feelings usurp my rights.
Well, it's not just that. It's the fact that they're turning this into an indoctrination camp where they are trying to push questionable teaching methods on children who are still trying to figure out who they want to be in life.
Hold on, I gotta get
And
real quick. Hold on.
and to give, children puberty blockers in school without the parents' consent.
Well, yeah, I do agree with that. That's a piece, but that's again, if you want your child to be a mutant, and I guess this is a little bit of a libertarian standpoint on that thing. You want your kid to be a
But
mutant?
if it's happening in the public schools, we know darn good and well it's happening on the military bases. The last place we need it is at our military bases, where 9 times out of 10, that service member's kid's probably going to sign up at some point in time in their life to serve the way their mom and daddy did. We don't need a bunch of people out there who don't know whether they're a man or a woman.
Yeah, I think I do need to digress a little bit on that. Now that I thought about it for a sec, because I have to be really clear on that. You're right. I am against puberty blockers in children. If you're over 18, do what you want.
Yeah, 18, you're an adult. You can do whatever you want. But when you're in school,
because it's plastic surgery, I can see like plastics in like a burn. Okay, that's very necessary.
It's a chemical plastic surgery to a child. No, it's wrong. Does not need to be in schools.
Yeah. And I honestly believe this because it's TRICARE. Our DOD funds should not be funding that for children.
That's right.
Children for sure. My tax dollars aren't there for that. The DOD is not a private company. If you want electric surgeries, like if you want to get your titties done, your ass done, whatever you want to kick in the hell of yourself out, go for it. But don't you dare do it on the government's dime.
That's right.
Because that's pretty much a lot what this trans is anyways. It's nothing natural. Gosh, I'm just so upset with this whole thing. And the fact, remember growing up, if you had insecurities on the way that you looked, your parents would tell you that's just how God made you and you need to learn to accept yourself. That's not it. We're sitting here pushing a very dangerous culture where it's like surgery is natural. No, it's not natural.
No, it's not natural. It's not natural at all.
It's ridiculous. So I do want to go ahead and retract that. I am not for surgeries or whatever anything that does physically harm to a child, or you have to have any physical.
It's wrong.
It's completely wrong. If you want to raise your kid with these LGBTQ, whatever, that's fine. I don't care. It's your right. It's your right. It's your ideology that you serve, because let's face it, LGBT, it's almost like a religion to them. That's what it is.
It has become.
It has become a religion.
They
straight from the Church of Satan.
Yeah, it is.
It's straight from the Church of Satan. Okay, I'm going to say it.
Yeah.
Because Satan loves sin.
But yeah, I guess we can move on.
Yep. You want to throw us up?
Yep. I keep always forgetting to do
that. Chair now recognize Mr. Kim of New Jersey.
I'll keep this brief, as my colleague Congressman Carbajal really hit the nail on the head. I mean, this is something that already DOD has their policies, their handbooks. They already provide a lot of this in terms of access to grades and curriculum, parent-teacher conferences, and a lot of this other. I really don't think we need to be micromanaging from Congress in terms of how these schools are operating. So I don't support this amendment.
Gentleman yields back. Chair now recognizes the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Mills.
Speak on that a bit. All right. So the thing is, there is no upper management of these schools. There is no board of these schools, these DOD schools.
How do you know that? I haven't looked into it. Have you?
The thing is, there's. Have you heard of a school board meeting for DOD schools?
I haven't had kids to know that, because in our day when we went in, good God, we had the tin cans at 29 Palm still.
Mm-hmm.
So there was no school.
There wasn't.
I mean, I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember. Let's see, because growing up as a kid on base, yes, there was. Yeah, we did meet. There was, but I don't remember that much of it because I was so young, Dakota.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that we had Now there was that resort first base in Lubbock. Yeah, that place was too small for a school. So they sent us to an academy.
Yeah, so that's a good question to ask. What kind of oversight is over these DoD schools?
Well, we'll save that for another show for sure.
Now that I wouldn't know anything about, but I do know
But-
there are bases with schools on
Right.
them.
We saw them, Dakota. We saw them
Mhm.
over at. You saw them.
Yeah,
We're over on Miramar.
I'm
You saw
not. I'm not denying that there's schools there.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and pull on everything up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, a lot of people are going to ask, why is this necessary? Dodea schools are good. What they don't realize is that parents across the country have become deeply concerned when they see their child's school prioritize radical progressive ideologies over academic excellence. And sadly, we're seeing similar trends within Dodea schools in which CRT, under the guise of diversity, equity, inclusion, and gender ideology teachings are being injected into school curriculums. Now, shouldn't our men and women be informed of what is going on after serving our great nation? Is there anything in there that would be prevented from being seen? Because if there's nothing wrong, why not show it? Dodea recently established a DEI division at their headquarters and launched their website, which actually goes over and explicitly describes what DEI must become with embedding in everything that they do, from curriculum to assessments to hiring to development. Now, how exactly are curriculum and standards at Dodea schools embedding DEI ideologies, and shouldn't service members get to know? If you're wondering why promoting DEI is concerning, look no further than the list of DEI resources that talk about the ideas of gender fluidity. When white bodies say getting rid of somatic abolitionism, the ideas of emplacing sexualization and pornographic materials in our high schools. Now, how do I know this? Well, an investigation was done last year that revealed that Dodea libraries contain books with explicit pornographic material made available to children of nation's service members. From Dodea high schools, libraries containing books with detailed explicit instructions in high school books on things such as LGBTQ sexual activities, sexual orientations, gender identities, and reading training materials called The Genderbread Person, which displays a spectrum of ideologies and identities with sexual orientation. These are not things, as a parent and a father of two, as a military combat veteran myself, that I want to be taught to my children without my own knowledge. These are all things, when it comes to sexuality, that should be taught by the parents and the parents only. Schools and teachers are there to teach curriculum, to teach our civics, our history, our arithmetic, our cursive writing, which is actually falling apart, not the ideas of oral sex, LGBT identities,
So that's why they sent me over.
and other types of activities. And you can laugh all you want. And as a military service member, I would expect that you, of all people, would have a little more respect for other military combat veterans.
Ooh.
But it's okay. We expect that from you at this point. The bottom line is that our teachers need to focus on teaching, and our parents need to have the right for parenting. And with that, I yield back.
Well done. Well done.
Very good. Very well said. That would be a delegate.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
When I heard say delegate, fantastic military bearing. On top of that, I mean, come on out. So the other guy was a veteran that was speaking.
Yes,
Kim?
Kim. I don't think he was a veteran. Kim was. This guy was.
Yeah, but he was calling out somebody, and the last one that spoke was Kim. So I don't necessarily. Or was he calling out Aldahar or whatever?
Oh, he was a little short but sweet speaker.
Yeah. Definitely.
Definitely a dick.
Yeah, I can't. But yeah, it's all about freedom of choice. Freedom. The thing is that I notice this. Military members, they never cared about like the do not ask, do not tell. I never saw a single freaking person, sailor, Marine, wasn't around Army, say one thing about, about it being repealed. Did you?
No.
No one cared. Okay. But it's just don't push it on us. But now you're pushing it on our families. You know, you don't have the right just because you're DOD to sit there and hold our families hostage. So I looked it up too because of what Dakota was saying. So there are 160 DOEA schools. DODA, that's what it's called. 160 schools.
Yeah.
So what I'm wondering, and I'm going to slay conservatives on this. Conservatives suck when it comes to the military. They don't care about our issues. When we go out and we hand out, do our interviews, conservative women are usually the worst. Oh, well, I'm not a veteran. So I was like, well, this is geared to civilians. So civilians can actually know about the veteran community. Well, no, I don't know anything about that. So my husband is a service member. You should go talk to him. I don't understand that. You should be hearing. I don't understand why conservatives don't hear themselves talk about the veteran community. They have no freaking clue. And
it seems like a majority of them believe that they can't do anything about it other than say, oh, thank you for your service. That's all that they think they can do.
And that's wrong. That's wrong.
Virtue signaling. You're just as bad as the Democrat. It's virtue signaling.
The conservatives need to be up there, right up their butts, tell them, hey, look, we don't want it in our public schools. We don't want it in our military schools. We support our veterans. They have a right to have a say in what goes on in their schools.
Do you know how important the NDAA is? And the thing is, they don't know. So the NDAA is where they ran the civil rights movement for. Okay, that helped give an equal opportunity. They ran it through the military first for equal opportunity. Okay, because if you notice, like the buses and everything, where they had where they shut down and they boycotted the buses.
Yep.
It was the military wives that were taking the African Americans to their jobs.
Yep.
Because here's the thing: if something happened where they got in trouble, boom, they'd drive right on to base, and the police couldn't come over there. So it's that's what happened, and that's where our conservatives, they're realizing that the civil rights movement, which was a conservative movement, was pushed through the NDAA, and where the hell are they now? If you're going to sit here and get this
They're singing
out of the military or out of your schools, maybe you should listen to the NDAA. Maybe you should sit here and push things for military, because if you push it federal, it affects state. And this
absolutely
is where because the majority of military is conservative. You're already winning. Get your asses involved. That's where it's at. I'm sorry, I went on a rant.
Ready to continue on?
Tell them, sister.
Go and throw some.
Gentleman from New Jersey, Mr. Norcross, is recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. I've been involved with schools my entire life. I sit on the Labor and Ed Committee, and we've seen a drastic change on some of the reactions that are happening across this nation. Good to have your parents involved in school, but I admire the idea of getting more parents involved. But that's like asking the public to come in and vote on every amendment that we're doing, to have that knowledge.
Yes, well, they can.
Micromanaging.
We need to be there.
People to be part of the school boards and go in. Well, in this
The
case,
military
school
should have
boards
a
don't look
military.
around
That's
the
tyranny,
bases
bitch.
throughout the world the way they do in our country. But that's what they follow. Those are the type of interactions that we see day in, day out. But the most important thing is our children being educated. The idea of permission slips, we all dealt with that. They continue to do those. To say you want to come in and meet with a teacher, great. That's one of the best things that could ever happen, is having that management and interaction with teachers. But the other thing that schools do is they have gym. They have health classes. They have science classes that look into human bodies on how they work. Age appropriate, of course. But these are things that have been going on for millennial generations. Science. The idea of having them involved is incredibly important. to the degree of micromanaging each and every item. Folks, going through the library for books. I would challenge anybody in this room, go look at your kid's iPhone. The internet. That's where we should be scared, not the books that are sitting in those libraries. But do we go through that? Are we shutting down the internet in schools? I don't think mom and dad are giving little kids the permission to go on the websites and see the things that we all know exist out there. Folks, get a hold of it. We're all in this together. We want to make sure our children have the best opportunity, especially for those who are serving places around the globe. But I would urge us to take a big breath. Let's put the brakes on this. It's already taking place, and not suck our kids into the mess that has been going on out here. Let them be kids. Let them learn. And with that, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Chair now recognizes.
Okay. I got to speak on that. That is one of the most ignorant things I've heard in my life. He wants to compare a school library to the internet. Well, here's the thing. On your kid's phone, which I don't know your kid under, a certain age, under 16, has a cell phone anyway. But on these kids' phones, parents have the ability to put child blocks on their phone, put parental restrictions on them so that they can't go to websites that they're not supposed to be going to block certain content that parents don't want their kids to see. And all parents are asking for is that same ability in the school libraries. That's all they're asking for. That same
Absolutely.
ability on their phones they want in the libraries. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you, Dakota. I really do. I mean, parents need to have that ability.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is, you're going to say you're going to tell a parent that they can't go through the school library to peruse everything to make sure that they can't, that their kids aren't seeing specific things?
Yeah, they can.
Anyway,
yeah, they can, because if they set up a password for the kid and the parents has to sign a consent for them to use the internet in the school library, they should be able to say, okay, this, and this is blocked at home. I want it blocked at school. That's all they should have to do. But it's not happening that way because it takes time, energy, and effort.
And here's another thing about the hypocrisy between the library and the internet. If you try to look up that same reading material on a school computer, on Google or anything like that, those child blockers would block that on the computer, but they can go right over to the bookshelf and see this and see what the computers block.
Absolutely.
Settings that the parents have on your cell phones, that's none of your business. But parents, just remember, you are the first line of defense. Protect your children. Stop getting here crying to congressmen saying, what are you going to do about fentanyl? What are you going to do about our kids and fentanyl? You are the first line of defense. Grow the fuck up. That's it.
I agree.
Sorry, I hear that a lot at these congressional town halls of what are we going to do about the school books? What are we going to do to control what our children read? And they're more respectful about it. But literally our Congress, like the parents are the first line of defense. Do your job. So that's
yeah, because if the parents don't step up to the plate and start swinging back, it's going to be a strikeout all the way across for the kids.
Yeah, I remember in the 90s, sorry to go down this rabbit hole, but my mother and my father, they noticed that there was a big shift that parents were using children or schools as daycares, not even daycares, to raise their children. And that cultural shift happens to where you've actually put the expectation on teachers that that's what they do now, raise your children.
Well, see, I have two school teachers, sister-in-laws, and both of them back in the 90s were saying that the parents were just using them as daycares. They didn't care. They wouldn't come to school for a parent-teacher conference. They didn't come to PTA or PTOs meetings that they had every month.
No, this has been going. This agenda has been going on since the 90s. I know we know Mr. Dr. Scarborough, and he revealed that in a city next to me called Friendswood, and then he made national news where he exposed it. You
Well,
know,
yeah, it started coming in and around when, they started trying to push the No Child Left Behind policies.
yeah, Bush era. Exactly. That's exactly when it started happening.
It started in the Bush and the Clintons finished it up.
Because that's the thing, is like teaching sex ed was always a parent's duty. I've always been against sex ed. Okay. It is never going to be taught by anyone else but me. Period.
Right.
Well, not according to our school standards today.
That was the gateway to all of this. And
Yeah.
conservatives, you're telling me you didn't see it coming?
Sex ed.
You're dumb.
And they told everybody, we're going to talk to them and tell them about safe sex and how it prevents STDs and preteen pregnancies. And
guess what? After they did that, there was more.
It was an explosion.
More pregnancies, more STDs.
Should have just not told us anything. I mean, we would have been better off.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep going.
Put this up there.
I keep going on tangents.
Sorry.
Ms. Kay Kiggins of Virginia. We got you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm proud to speak in favor of Congresswoman Stefanik's Service Member Parents Bill of Rights amendment today. This amendment simply reinforces that service members with children in the Department of Defense Education Activity Schools have the right to be involved in their children's education, while also increasing transparency and accountability in those schools. Transparency and things that I, as a mama of four, always really want to know. Things like curriculum, things like crime in their schools, what the teachers are learning at their training, who the guest speakers are, what kind of health issues they're having, safety issues, kind of common sense issues. I'm from the Commonwealth of Virginia and represent Hampton Roads. And if you think back to 2021, this became really a movement of sorts. The parents matter. And we had yard signs that we put up, and our Governor Youngkin, before he won the election in 2021, really incorporated parents. And if you remember back to there was a debate, a gubernatorial debate where we had two schools of thought on the issue. And the side that won in 2021 was Parents Matter, and it was a Parents Matter movement. And we've taken that movement and we continue to remind Americans, that there is a group of people out there who's advocating for them, who's speaking for them, who wants them to be involved in their kids' schools and in their kids' education. It's really common sense for me. Again, as a mom of four, I support this amendment, and I urge my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to do the same. Thank you. I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. Chair, and I recognize the gentlelady from.
And it started in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
When parents had to become the teachers because the schools were closed.
They had to parent.
And they started seeing the curriculum that their kids were having to study at home on their notebooks. Notebooks.
Listening to the, I would say, cult of an education that they were getting.
And then when parents started seeing what their children were learning, they're like, what the hell? No.
Can you believe that the Common Core math that they do that takes 10 times longer to complete a problem? Or the...
And we have Chinese kids learning physics.
Yeah, and then the reading list, the dumbed down reading list that they have, and everything is just so... These kids are slow. And the thing is, the kids are slow. The kids are not where they're supposed to be. I mean, someone needs to step the game up, and now there's been a huge wave of homeschooling because of this pandemic, a big uprising in it.
There was a big wave of homeschooling with sex ed too. I mean, because I was part of that wave too.
Mm-hmm.
When sex ed came into schools, boom, we were done. I mean, and it's not, the thing is that I think it's also, if you want to think about from a left-wing perspective and talk about minorities have different cultures. This was not only against our religious values, but our cultural values. Growing up in an Asian household, it didn't fly. You weren't going to teach sex ed like that, especially the fact that you didn't teach that sex was sacred.
I was brought up in a Catholic household. And you were told abstinence is the best policy. Do not have sex before marriage.
See, that's kind of where I'm at with the abortion argument, is that you can sit there and have sex with whoever you want, right? But then the moment that you talk about abortion, you bring up the fact and the attitude and the demeanor that sex is sacred at that point. And so we should protect the woman. And I'm like, no, you're the one acting like a hoe to begin with, acting like it's not sacred and you're just giving away. But the moment you talk about abortion, it's now sacred. Can't have it both ways. Pick a side.
Well,
either sex is sacred and important, or it's not. You can't have it both ways. And you know, here's the thing: I haven't even heard conservative speakers talk like that.
Well, you know, when my daughter was 14, she had her first child.
Mm-hmm. Oh wow!
You know, I told her, I said, you know, we're not killing it. It's a baby. It's a blessing.
Yes.
All children, all babies are blessings from God.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know what? That blessing for God is right here, right now, and he's taller than me, and he's got his first summer job, and he's making good money.
Right on.
You know what? I'm proud of him. I love that kid.
That's the biggest lie ever sold. You know, removing a child from the womb, killing a baby, it doesn't
Is murder.
the problem in your life. It just removes the baby. It doesn't change your economic standing. It doesn't change, your decisions in life or your core character. In fact, it actually will damage your soul. It will damage your character. And saying, hey, I take the easy way out. Hey, I'm complacent. And it doesn't make you courageous as a woman.
That's right.
Sit there.
It takes a woman to actually give that life, bring that life into it, and be responsible for that life. More courageous.
Yeah.
Because she's chosen the coward's way out when she chooses an abortion.
Exactly. So I'm that impacts your soul right there. And there is a spiritual battle of that. That does cause damage to you, and that's the biggest lie that these abortion places sell. It's just a thing that you pick off on a shelf. If it was that true, why aren't there celebration or parties of true happiness when girls leave an abortion clinic? Because I guarantee you, I've sat there and I've stood in front of abortion clinics. You should see their somber faces.
Well, they see that innocent life they've just ended.
Yeah, they're heavily thinking about it because their body's readjusting the hormones and the changes. Mother of God, what do? They're not happy.
And not only that, later on, if they have the ability after they've had an abortion to actually have a child, they will always wonder, what would that first baby have been like?
That's true. That's true.
It'll always be a ghost that haunts them.
Unless you're a psychopath.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, like that Jazz Jennings mother, that woman is crazy and should be in a padded room.
I agree. But you know what? I am so proud of my daughter for choosing life for my grandson.
Yeah.
And she's always stood up for that child. She's always taken care of him.
I remember in the 90s too, where they gave men a hard time for being virgins too. I think the most courageous decision, not knocking your daughter at all, most
is abstinence, waiting for that right person.
Exactly, and waiting for the right time. Thinking of the baby first. That is absolutely the best decision for your soul, for the happiness of yourself and your child and your family. What do you think?
Absolutely. And the thing is, me growing up, it was never taught to me that way, and I wish it was. I really do. And
too many people think sex is a sport.
Yeah.
It's not a sport.
Duh.
It's not in the Olympics. It's not a sport.
Well, look at the people who sold that culture. It was Madonna. Ew, does she look happy? Look at these people in Hollywood that sell this culture. They're not happy. You're just being a sucker. Jeez.
Yep.
All right, let's get back
right
on there. I'm going on tangents.
That's okay. We can go down rabbit holes.
New Jersey, Ms. Cheryl, for 3 minutes.
Thank you. As a mom of 4 kids and 4 school-age kids who've gone through the pandemic, like so many other parents across the nation, I share the concerns for the mental health and well-being of our children, what they're learning in schools, and wanting to make sure as a parent I have full access to what that is and understanding and access to the teachers so I can discuss any concerns I have, which is why in the past I supported this amendment. But what I've seen over the past year is how legislation like this, that at face value would increase parental engagement in schools, has actually been used as an attempt to interfere with family decisions, the quality of our public education system, and the ability to have open dialogues in classrooms. By requiring that schools provide a full list of books in school libraries for parental inspection, we're opening the door for censorship and a banning of books. And unfortunately, all too many times, we've seen in districts across the country, the books that parents are trying to ban often pertain to the experience of Black Americans, the work of civil rights leaders, and LGBTQ plus issues about acceptance and understanding. So we've also seen seminal pieces of American literature being censored. Pieces from authors such as Nobel Prize winner Toni Morrison and New Jersey native Judy Blume. This is simply one way of censoring what so many people in this country think is an important piece of America's history that our children should and deserve to be taught. So that's why I'm encouraging people to vote against this amendment. And with that, I'll yield back.
What a sellout.
Bullshit. Because I remember when I was in college, there was this book called Killer Angels. Yeah, the Dems got rid of that one about the Civil War. Oh, I love reading books about the Civil War. Probably one of my, I tell you, that's one of my guilty pleasures is Civil War books. Totally love it.
I don't know a single person who's trying to get rid of 12 years a slave or anything else.
Yeah, they liberalized it though on the TV. 12 years a slave. Go read it. 12 years a slave. Go read it. It was an awesome book.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is, they're
Angels too.
They're flying this in any which way they can underneath racism. Just like, oh, these racist parents are going to get rid of all these books about slavery. No, they're not.
They'll get rid of stuff like Brave New World, George Orwell. Heck, even a bit of
Catcher in the Rye, To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yeah, I remember when they banned To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yeah, they'll get rid of that. They will totally get rid of that.
They'll get rid of the Holy Bible. Utah just banned it from the school libraries.
So my thing is that's not what we're talking about.
I know, but they say that it is sexually explicit.
There's one. We saw one book where this kid strapped on it, and it's in a comic book where a kid strapped on a dildo, and the other one was given the dildo head.
Yeah.
So
it's not the books like you were talking about. It's the books like the last one you were talking about that don't need to be in the schools.
Right. So I don't want to hear that. You've already enacted your stuff from Nazi Germany in the schools in the early 2000s and 90s. Shut up. And conservatives, you were asleep.
We do not need to be desensitizing our children to the fact that we have groomers in our schools who are exposing them to pedophilia.
Oh yeah, what is it, Narsal?
Oh yeah, Narsal just happened. We were actually just at a protest against Narsal. So Narsal is actually they're a big lobbying firm and advocate organization trying to get rid of the sex offender registry in the country.
We need to keep that one.
Yeah, we absolutely do. It's not enough, in my opinion. There needs to be more. There needs to be stricter policies on sex offenders.
And I'll tell you this is that I have noticed, and I don't have the statistics on it. I hope a university does a study on it. I've noticed the uptick in teachers and sexual assault crime with this LG alphabet push. I have noticed that. I noticed that.
Well, that started back in the 80s when we had the teacher that was getting pregnant by the male student.
No, there was this girl and a teacher in Louisiana who got her husband to ejaculate into cupcake batter.
Oh my God.
Yeah, or was it icing, something like that? And she fed it to her students, and she got caught. Nasty. And here's the thing: it's not men; they're mainly women that are doing this.
Yeah.
So I don't want to hear it. I want get rid of this. Get rid of this sex culture within schools.
Absolutely. It doesn't need to be there.
Yeah. If you want your kid raised in a sex culture, do that, and then.
If you want to know the future of this sex culture in schools, read Brave New World. It's
No, I'm saying for freedom of rights.
Read the Bible. You got Sodom and Gomorrah. You got.
If they want to raise their kids in a sex culture, then that's when we'll come up and we'll protest you once you're on a sex offenders list when you show up at your NARSOL meeting. There you go.
Yeah.
That's it. All right, you want to get to us?
Yeah.
Yields back, Chair, and I recognize the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Gates.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, it sounds like my Democrat colleagues were for this amendment until they actually saw parents start to utilize their rights. And that's what's most troubling to them, not the very structure of it. I think the most compelling argument was actually made by Mr. Kim that in a lot of cases, you do not want the United States Congress serving as America's school board. I say that knowing my father was an elected school superintendent and a member of the school board, and I definitely don't want that job. And that's why I voted against the Republican legislation creating a Parents' Bill of Rights broadly in all circumstances. But I strongly support Ms. Stefanik's amendment because when you're dealing with military families and the rate of movement and the way the governance structure works there, you don't have the normal ability for a community to participate in the political process and elect a school board to resolve these questions like that.
That's right.
So in essence, in this one unique circumstance, I think Ms. Stefanik fills a needed gap by providing these rights. I yield my remaining time to the gentlelady from New York.
Thank you for yielding, Mr. Gates.
So I get what they're saying about the governmental is creating a micromanaging system. I get that. My biggest problem is I love how Gates kind of brought up a tones of another point, is that if your family MOSs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or not MOSs, as
moves.
Yeah.
PTS.
Yeah. Where's it? PCS?
PCS. That's it.
If your family PCSs, which is a move, right? And your child is sexually assaulted and you find out about it at the other base, nothing you can do.
Nothing to do. Yeah.
No.
Happened to the school district.
That's why I really do think that this might be wise to have eyes. And I know this personally, it's a very personal experience on this one, is one of the higher ranking officials, of my dad's unit, his niece raped my brother when he had him over. And there was nothing that could be done about it.
That's sad.
By the time he could talk about it and explain about it, different location.
Yeah.
And that's horrible.
It is horrible.
That's why I would say this would segue into creating an effective way to handle that. So that's why I'm all for this bill.
Absolutely.
So I want to keep going.
All right.
Yep. Let's roll.
So just for the American people to know the facts, a year ago, 12 members across the aisle voted in support of this common sense amendment. And I'm going to read out for the American people who are watching this evening. This is going to be a partisan vote, and that is unfortunate because Republicans support the right of parents to review the curriculum of schools. The Democrats vote no. They don't want to allow parents to review the curriculum. The Republicans support the right for parents to know if the school alters the academic standards or learning benchmarks. My colleagues across the aisle oppose parents having the right to know that. The Republicans support the right to meet with each teacher of their child not less than twice during each school year. Democrats across the aisle don't want parents to be able to meet with the teachers twice a year. The right to review the budget, including all revenues and expenditures of the school. That's also something that my Democrat colleagues oppose. The right to review all instructional materials and teacher professional development materials used by the school. Also common sense that is unfortunately by my colleagues across the aisle. The right to inspect a list of books and other reading materials. There is no content wording about banning books here. This is about transparency so that parents have the right to see the titles of books that are in the library and taught to their children. The right to address the school board or advisory committee of the school. That's common sense. That's freedom of speech. My colleagues across the aisle want to silence parents. The right to information about the school's discipline policy and any violent activity in school. Parents deserve to know what there are violent acts in schools, and Democrats don't want parents to know that. That is a sad state of affairs that they aren't willing to support this common sense proposal. So the American people across this great country are smart. They know this should not be a partisan issue, but apparently there's only one party that is the party of parents, and that's the Republican Party, and that's why you're going to see a partisan vote on this committee. We are proud to stand for parents across the
Time's
country.
expired. Gentleman from New Mexico, Mr. Vasquez, is recognized.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to take this opportunity here to stand up for teachers in this country and to stand up for teachers in DOD schools. I think this bill scapegoats our educators who work so hard. Not only that, but also act as de facto childcare workers. Those military families that have to send their children to school. Now, teachers in this country are already overtasked. They're overburdened. They're underpaid. And parental responsibility has always been something lacking in this nation that I believe is part of the reason we're talking about this today. The avenues exist for parental involvement. This bill goes too far, and it makes some assumptions that we heard from some of our colleagues on the other aisle that have an alternate political agenda. What we don't want to do is saddle our already burdened educators with unrealistic mandates that simply cannot be met. This is government overstepping on the educational system, in particular in our DOD schools.
No, that's
what kids should be focused on learning, and what parents should be focused on what kids are learning are math and science and reading and writing and developing social skills in those early childhood.
No, not even social skills.
Now,
That's
we're
overreach.
a compendium of issues here that are larger national issues that don't belong in a discussion about the National Defense Bill. I just want to say that I truly support all of our teachers, in particular our DOD teachers in some of our rural communities in places like Alamogordo, New Mexico, that deserve to have the freedom to teach and deserve to have those jobs that pay well and don't have.
Teaching's not a freedom.
Thank you,
It's not.
Chairman. I yield back my time.
Sure, now recognize.
Great point, Dakota. Teaching is not.
And teaching's not a freedom. Teaching's a profession, and
It's not your
the Constitution.
Teaching is a responsibility.
right. If you want to be a teacher that teaches freedom like that and everything, go be a motivational speaker. Okay, and practice capitalism with it and have people pay you to do that. But no, they are government employees. They are part of a system of what? The education system.
Yeah.
Where parents have
Yeah.
rights. But what you're saying is that no, and what it is, I'm going to flat out just say it. The liberals, what they want to do is deprogram the conservative families, because it's the same conservative families that have been serving since time immemorial, since the foundation of this country. It's the same families that have been serving. So they want to nip it in the bud, get rid of conservative mindsets, indoctrinate their children to be little Hitler Youth kids, and then bam, let's kill conservatism.
Well, they want their parents to be friends, not parents.
I love my child, but she's not my friend. It'll be that way. She'll have to.
They want that's what they're teaching. They want the parents to be their best friend and not their parent.
Yep.
Right.
Back. Anything else?
No.
This is garbage. He's a dick, right?
Yeah, he's a dick. Nick.
Okay.
All right, let's get going.
As Ms. Houlihan for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I rise in support of this piece of legislation, but I am enormously frustrated by Ms. Stefanik, who has introduced this legislation for a second time and then decided to make it a partisan issue. I'm frustrated because the language that I'm reading here is the same language that I read last year, and I am supporting it this year in the same way that I was supporting it last year because I find it to be reasonable. I don't find it reasonable to pit one another against each other, Democrats versus Republicans. I try really hard to read each and every piece of legislation and to do the best I can to vote on behalf of the people I represent. I've also been an educator. I taught high school chemistry. I know how hard it is to levy these kinds of requirements on teachers and administrators. And so, as frustrated as I am with the politicization of these kinds of legislation, pieces of legislation, I still will vote in support of it, and I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. The chair now recognizes the gentlelady from Michigan, Ms. McLean.
I yield my time to Ms. Stefanik.
Ms. Houlihan, I appreciate that, and I appreciate your consistency. As I said at the start, there were 12 Democrats who voted strongly in support of this common sense amendment last year. I think all of us on this committee appreciate your attention to this, focused on the policy issues and the language of the bill. And just to be, straightforward with the American people, this was going to go en bloc. Until there were concerns raised from individuals across the aisle who voted in support of it last time and feel that for whatever reason or another, they need to change that vote. So again, we appreciate the consistency. I hope other ones of your colleagues have the courage to do that as well. Yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. The chair now recognizes Mr. Connor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm all for parents having a say in their kids' education, especially as a parent. But it is the micromanaging that I find quite remarkable, to make all instructional and educational professional development materials, including teachers' manuals, films, tapes, books, or other reading materials, or other supplementary materials used in any survey, analysis, or evaluation available for inspection. I mean, I just wonder, what about the dignity of teachers? What if there was a voters' rights bill that says, let every member of Congress make everything, every supplementary material we've ever used, every tape we've ever had, every book we've ever had available to the public? That would not be feel very good. Why have such a laundry list? So I just think it's way overbroad. The spirit of having parents involved. I mean, who's not for having parents involved and having common sense? But don't micromanage teachers in this way. I yield the rest of my time to Representative Carbajal.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. Let me just say, I voted for this in good faith last time, and I saw the ensuing rhetoric and press releases that were sent out, which I will spare you. And to say Democrats are not concerned about parental rights and our children, we're concerned about not having pedophiles near our children. We're concerned about making sure that all the appropriate curriculum is taught to our kids. That's what Democrats care about. Paint everybody with such a broad brush, I find it very insulting. Mr. Chair, I yield back.
So we had a little kid meltdown for a sec. I'm sorry about that.
But yeah, all it is just these Democrats over on, or dicks, we should call them, over on their side of the aisle, defending themselves on why we shouldn't have parents involved in schools.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's big government, and even libertarians will have with this. Okay, libertarians are government. But the thing is the government's grown so big, and I'll be honest with you, the conservatives let it happen. Why? No one's talking even on the news media outlets. Come on, Daily Wire, you're not looking at the NDAA. Daily Wire, you're not looking at anything military. Fox News, you only cover things on Veterans Day and Memorial Day. Same with MSNBC. So conservatives do absolutely nothing when it comes to military, except thank you for your service. That's it. You don't know what's going on, but the thing is you have a conservative backing again to where you could actually end a lot of this stuff federally through the NDAA. Total idiots right now.
But you have a bunch of people who have already been told, if you stand up and say, you're going on a terrorist watch list, you can go to jail. You can lose everything. It's all about fear mongering.
The thing is, it's fear mongering for the civilians, but it's reality for active duty because
It's still fear mongering.
it's not fear mongering when it becomes true. Okay,
Yep.
fear mongering is just an emotional response. What's happening to our military, to our veteran community? They are actively, well, veterans are just being killed. Let's face it.
Yeah.
Okay. The active duty community were imprisoned, were kicked out, were lost their jobs because of their push for freedom. So no, civilians, you're just feeling it. And only certain people in the medical field felt it. But actively, conservatives, do they know that it's fear mongering? No, it's actually happening to military and active veterans. That's what it is. And they won't stand up until it happens to them. And then I guarantee you a lot of veterans will be like, yeah, fuck you. I ain't coming to help
Well,
you.
It's already been happening to us. Our schools wouldn't be in the shape it was if it hadn't already been happening.
And here's the thing. Do you see any, do you see any active duty coming up with these school boards?
No.
No, it's because they can't. And everyone's wondering where they at. Well, you know what? You're not standing up for them either. So why are they going to stand up for you? That's what it is. There's this mindset of people that think that military don't think the same. Well, no, we don't think the same, but we're still people too.
Thing is, there's this mindset that active duty is going to protect us from the government. Veterans are going to protect us from the government. At this point, we're looking out for ourselves and those closest to us. That's it.
I mean, they already control our retirement and our pay. Here's the thing: is that if you're medically retired, do you know you don't get paid retirement out of the military? So, and that's what the Major Richard Starrs Act about is so we can find our retirement pay. But, you know, here's the thing is that our stuff is held hostage by the Department of Veteran Affairs, which is agree with me. And it's not only will we not pay you, is that we will sit here and control your surgeries. Okay, you're not going to get that surgery if you don't do what I say. So it's actively happening. And then two, with mental health, right? Oh, so they'll sit there, they'll record everything. The FBI gets your medical records, right? Oh my gosh, you talked about something top secret. Boom. And that's why you're red flagged. You're a terrorist because you talked about that in therapy because it's your personal problem. So, or also this is that the veterans know about the red flags that goes on because of destabilizing events and PTSD can take your guns. So are they even able to be honest about their feelings when they talk with their therapist? No, they aren't. We were on a radio show, SOS Radio, where a Vietnam veteran called in and he said, no, veterans aren't going to do it. They're never going to be honest with their mental health. So it's ineffective because it's highly controlled. So no, I don't think it's a fear mongering. I think it's a reality in the veteran and active duty community.
But they use fear to control them.
No, they use guns. It's not fear. Sally, you are actually met with armed officers when it goes down. I was met with armed officers. So no, it was not. It was not. You are forced. You know, it's like how they did with Arnett last night. She was around a lot of guns. And it's just one small girl. So no, it's not a feeling. It's an actual threat to your life. It's a threat to your family. You do what you say, or there it is. And that's what these.
I agree.
Now.
Mm-hmm.
So
let's continue on.
Chair now recognizes Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's actually not a huge mystery here. I mean, when it's presented, it is presented as a common sense amendment. Parents ought to have a say in their child's education. And of course, we all know parents do have a say in their child's education. They have a variety of different means to talk to the teacher, to talk to the school board, to talk to the principal, and all of that. So when the amendment was first presented, I did argue against it last year. I guess I'm not as persuasive as I like to think I am sometimes. But people had an initial look at it and said, well, why shouldn't parents have a say? But as you listen to this debate, that's not what this is about. I mean, it was made very clear by the sponsor of the amendment that she's going after trans education and sex education. There is a very narrow conservative agenda, and we
Sex
want to
education
empower
should be-
parents. This amendment wants to empower parents to dictate that agenda into the schools in a more effective manner. That's what
Yes.
this debate is about.
Yeah.
So you can post us online, you can portray us however you want, but the very simple thing is, yes, we would like to have parents have a say, but that's not what this amendment is about. That's what I knew at the time last year, and what came out very clearly then, and what has come out clearly in this debate. And that's fine. You know, if you want to argue that there is a very specific conservative way that our children ought to be taught, the state of Florida does a good job of this, where there was a teacher down there who showed a film that wasn't about any of this. It just happened to have a gay character in it. Well, and that is unacceptable, because apparently we don't want people
Parents'
to
rights.
know that gay people exist. So now she is being investigated for having committed a crime. That is what this amendment is about. So let's not kid ourselves about common sense. We really want to support
I don't want you to
parents.
show any
You
gay
know,
relationship to my child.
We're having the fight that they're having in school districts all across the country right now. That is very, very unfortunate.
Can we get a list?
Want to go in and push a very narrow political agenda in schools. And frankly, it does happen on the left sometimes. And I'd be against parents doing that too, going in there and pushing a very narrow-minded agenda from that side. We got right and left banning books.
It's not
It's both
narrow-minded.
ridiculous, but it's the reason that we should support amendments like this. And I am going to oppose it. And I urge other members to oppose it as well. I yield back.
Okay. I like these 3 little minute shorts that he gives. I'm okay with everything negative he said. I'm okay with that. No, who the hell do you think you are to sit there and show another religion I don't agree with, another sexual orientation to my child, another anything without my permission? Period. You know, that's not a narrow view. That's not a sheltered view.
No. We people have been dropping their kids off at school expecting a very short list of things: reading, writing, arithmetic, history, stuff like that. Not this.
Yes, but here's the thing: is that what they're pushing is that this is a very sheltered view as well, and it's not. I got to do way more stuff than I did in the schools. I remember I was taught to melt bullets for a musket. Got to shoot muskets. Got to do stuff with the 4-H. I got to out the horses, making feed, growing gardens. Gosh, man, I even raced cars. It was great. I was one of the best. Well, I was the best artist in my college too, because of it. I had amazing teachers. I can hear an instrument, and just pick up and play it, and I could do a whole bunch of stuff. I got to travel. When we talked about the Civil War, boom, we went to Antietam. There it is. We got to hear. Oh, remember when we went to Tombstone?
Mm-hmm.
With Wyatt Earp's.
Wyatt Earp, Doc Holliday.
Yeah,
all that.
Their nephews.
Yeah, met their nephews. Went to France. We went to France. We met the living descendants of Napoleon Bonaparte.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
Let's see. Another one is I met the first female aquanaut who used to be married to the man that discovered the location of the Titanic. So that was cool. Going up and I was in robotics competitions, and I was meeting people from all over the world. So I just really want to say that this sheltered narrative of everything, I'm so sorry, but it's y'all public schoolers that were very sheltered from the world, because that's how homeschoolers usually are. They're everywhere. And we get to go on vacation when we want. We get to go, but usually when you go on vacation, you always see something educational. It's awesome. But also, I noticed that Mr. What is Smith? Is his name? Or
Smith.
He said something. Now I forgot it. Oh, you got anything? Let me read it.
I think what really just irks me is that he's talking down to the parents who want the best for their children and want to be involved in their children's life.
Yeah, how dare you want to parent?
Yeah, how dare you?
How dare you want to parent? Parents.
Yeah, we know what's best for your children. I just don't quite understand your logic here.
We went to school for 8 years and we have a degree in parenting.
I'm sorry, I think a stay-at-home mother would have more knowledge. So, You ready to go?
Yep.
Discussion. There's no further debate. The question is on adoption of the amendment offered by Ms. Stefanik in New York. So many leaders in favor will say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The recorded vote is requested. That will be postponed to a later time. Chair now recognizes the gentlelady from Michigan.
Chairman, I ask unanimous consent to reduce the amount of time per member recognition from 3 minutes to 2 minutes.
I second.
Without objection, so ordered. Told you I like Miss Lotkin. Chair now, let's see. We will now consider log number 2573 by Mr. Banks of Indiana. For what purposes, gentleman from Indiana seek
Chairman, I have an
recognition?
amendment at the desk.
Clerk will distribute the amendment without objection. Reading the amendments dispensed with. The chair now recognizes gentleman for purpose of explaining his amendment.
The purpose of this amendment is to require the department to conduct a study on the impact of President Biden's executive order on preventing and combating discrimination based on gender identity or sexual orientation on our female service members. Across the country, women and girls are being subjected to men entering women's only spaces, like locker rooms and bathrooms. Now, this ideology has come for our female service members. I want to know how many active duty women have been impacted by this ideology. I want them to understand that to feel uncomfortable with a man in the locker room or bathroom is okay. And they can speak up. Common sense and science can prevail over ideology. That's why it's essential that we understand the impact of these ideologies on our female service members. And I encourage everyone who cares about the approximately 20% of our force who are women to support this amendment. With that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentlelady from California, Ms. Jacobs, is recognized.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think we need to be clear about what we're talking about. Executive Order 13988 prevents
How
and
can it be more
combats
clear?
discrimination. That is something that every single person on this committee should want to do. And yet, here we are. Instead, my colleague is implying that preventing and combating discrimination based on gender identity and sexual orientation somehow hurts people and specifically hurts women. It's interesting that now my colleague claims to care about supporting women when he and his party introduced a national abortion ban, opposes paid family leave, blocks the ERA, and fights against universal childcare. And when we on this committee keep continuing to propose things that will actually help female service members, guess what? They oppose that too. This isn't about protecting women. Affirming the existence of the LGBTQ plus community doesn't harm or take anything away from cis women.
Yes,
All it
Bullshit.
is that the LGBTQ plus community has the right to exist as who they are without fear of retribution or discrimination or violence. And let's be clear, the service members that I represent, they're not worried about a trans person being in their bathroom.
Yes, they are.
Yes, we are.
Being raped, is being sexually assaulted is by the cis men that they are serving with. That is who
Cis men?
That is why this committee needs to be doing even more to work on sexual assault, not by demonizing the trans community who are just trying to serve their country. I urge my colleagues to oppose this charade and vote down this amendment. I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back.
Honey, you better wake the fuck up.
Okay, I did something.
You better wake up because pedophiles are using the damn trans movement to get into bathrooms to where they have access to women and children and trying to figure out who they are going to be the easiest victims for them to kidnap and abduct.
So I did
Bullshit. Keep them out of it.
So when I watched her run her mouth this week, because we didn't really have much time to actually sit down and watch all this because it was like 5 hours long. But we had it on the TV in passing while we were doing other work. And I saw this particular clip and I said, I'm done. I'm so done. So I actually called her office and I got her staff on the phone and I was like, hey, I just watched the NDAA hearing and I'm a female sailor. And they're like, yeah. And then I was like, and when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion, I'm also Japanese, and they're Japanese American, and they're like, yeah, and I was like, yeah, I am, and I want to sit here and I want to take a stand for us women, and they're like, yeah, and I was like, yeah, shut the fuck up, okay? Nothing you said is what us women want, and you should have just completely shocked on the other end, like, say that to us, like, you don't care about women. I'm like,
we do care about women. We care about our safety.
I said, we work really hard to get women into the military for equal treatment. Now, I'm not saying it's true equal treatment, because honestly, his times were different than mine with the PRT, and honestly, I could do it. I could run a 12-minute mile, or mile and a half. I could run a 12-minute mile and a half when I was at
11:35.
I was only at 11:45, but I could do it.
Right on. Just.
Yeah, I was tired. I went in a little bit past my prime on that, guys. But I'll say this is that I don't want a dick. I don't want a man in a dress sitting there taking over my spot that we worked hard over generations to get into. And the fact is that we still can't have babies effectively, even in the military. If you go over to Balboa Hospital in San Diego, go try to have a baby there. It ain't going to be that great, because they're shutting it down and they moved it outside. But if you're an active duty female, you're fucking stuck. You're stuck. You're stuck. I knew a Marine that Nessie. She went out and she was in active labor for like 2 days because they wouldn't let her have a baby. Just excruciating pain.
Right.
So she just went to a straight ER. And then what happened at this point? How dare you go to a different hospital outside your base? That's what she got. She got in trouble for going outside of Balboa. Balboa wouldn't deliver the baby, and she went outside base to get it. But you know what? I take it offense too. I am not cis anything. How dare you? That's what I don't get. They feel that they're so entitled to add something to our names, and we have to accept it. And that's what we are. I'm sorry, honey. Go smoke your freaking unicorn rainbow crack somewhere else, because you know what? I ain't buying it.
It's insulting at this point.
Yeah. You don't get to do that. You don't get to restructure me. I mean, dang. It's ridiculous. And anything, I don't want a penis in my spaces. I don't. They had in the Delta barracks down in Pensacola, so they used to have men and women together in one BEQ. Yeah, that didn't go so well.
Terrible idea.
So now they had a full women's section and then the men's section. And I was right there. I was already in Delta, and the men were in there when I got there. And then like a week later, they were moving to another barracks. Yeah, it didn't work because too many girls were getting knocked up. But, it doesn't matter. And here's the thing is that, talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion. Girls can't show their shoulders on base.
No.
You can't have spaghetti straps, okay? You have to have your pants come up to your fingers, right?
Guys are not allowed to wear sleeveless shirts around base.
But
even.
Yeah, you can't wear a wife beater. That's right.
No, you can't wear a wife beater.
But they had a trans performer on the wall.
The Reagan.
And he can be in a dress. And also he can, what is it, the uniform he did?
Oh, he was in his coveralls.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had manipulated his uniform, a uniform item, which you are not allowed to do outside of regulations.
Yeah, that's in like the UC day.
Yeah, it is.
And he did it. But all because he's something. The thing is, we knew cross-dressers in the military.
Yeah, we knew cross-dressers. They did it on their own time.
Dude, I remember
they weren't on the boat, putting makeup on or anything like that. They pull in a port, get off the boat, change into civilian wear. You would never think they were a sailor. And then they get off, get all done up, and go out and hit the town.
Right. I actually know the bars that they went to as well. But I remember having to sit there because it was watch. And we sat there with one of your guys. And they said, okay, you have to find out if it who's the actual female in this photo and who's the man. And we played that for a couple hours.
Turns out both of them were men.
Yeah.
And a lot of people got it wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it looked good. I'll tell
I'm
you.
just like, I'm just looking at it. Is that York? Just like,
but you know what? No one had a problem with it. It was, it was fun and games. Like, okay, it's not for me, but go do you. But now it's the point where it's crossing the line. It's insulting to women because it is woman face. We worked really, really hard to get where we are, and now it's gone because it's a man does it better. No.
Yep.
I see where Riley Gaines is coming from. But here's the thing: if a female service member speaks out, she's censured for it. Ew. And she's losing her freedom. She's learning everything that we worked hard for. Because here's the thing: at the same time, they're pushing this the transgender equity and inclusion crap. They just happen to address and allow treatment for military sexual trauma, which has been going on since the 70s.
yeah. The thing is, knowing it seems like
got our women's rights in there.
It's crazy that not even the group of people it directly affects can speak out on it.
Nope.
Because I'm amazed that we have female misogynists out there in the world, just like we have black white supremacists that are out there too. I mean, it makes zero sense, these labels they try to stick on people. It's like, so wait, you're talking that these people hate themselves that much? It's like, no, this doesn't make sense anymore.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
But the thing is, it's like even with Bud Light girl guy, who's never had a single surgery to show that it is trying to evolve into something female.
Oh, wait a minute. He's in love with a woman now, so he's.
It's all, but the thing is, it's all theater.
He's made enough money to do surgery, that's for sure.
It's theater, and the thing is that I get it if it's a comedy on up on a stage, but when you're actually doing it in public, no.
And you're getting paid endorsements, big fees from big companies.
Yeah, it's you're right. It is misogyny.
Yeah.
It's fine. So let's get going.
You want to throw us up?
Yep.
Florida, Mr. Gates is recognized.
I support the gentleman's request for a report on this. And one of the things that report will show is that the base I represent, Eglin Air Force Base, right now is struggling with an issue where you have someone with male genitalia who is wanting to go to the locker rooms and showers of the women. And a lot of those women are, I learned this not because I was hanging out in the women's shower, but because women complained to me about it. They contacted our office with deep concerns, and I could see how those would be well-founded concerns. Matter of fact, when we had one of our force posture hearings, we had similar challenges emerge in the Army. And I asked General McConville, I said, well, is this going to help us recruit more women into the armed services when you have to showcase these dynamics in the showers and in the locker rooms? And even General McConville, who noted that he was retiring and on his way out so he could speak pretty freely with us, said that this is a problem recruiting female service members. It's not going to help us. So when we get those admissions from some of our senior brass, I think it's at least worth us noting where this stuff is going on. My hope is that as we move the NDAA to the floor, that we'll go far beyond Mr. Banks's amendment, and that we will preclude the type of activity that we seem to hear from our constituents as a matter of concern. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Any further discussion? Ms. Houlihan's recognized.
I just want to echo my colleagues, Rep. Jacobs' comments. If we really care about service women, and there are a few people here who have actually served who are women, then we would care about childcare. We would care about our reproductive freedoms. We would care about base housing. We would care about the education of our children. We would care about spouses, making sure that they were able to be employed. We would not spend our time caring about who's using what bathroom. It never occurred to me in my years of service that that was something I should worry about or be concerned. But thank you very much for caring for me.
Any further
So
discussion?
how an emotional answer of not answering was that? She didn't take a stance on, Yes, I get it. We didn't understand. In my service, I never thought about the bathroom. I thought it was a very safe space. Yeah, but I noticed very now. I don't go to the bathroom with her. He does.
I'm sorry, but we have limited stallage as it is. We don't need any extra bodies in there trying to figure out who they're going to possibly sexually assault.
I never. Here's the thing.
Here's the thing. Here's a great idea. All you women have a sit-in. Just fill those stalls up when they're going to transfer.
What, all 6 of them? There's already a queue. 1 on 2 of them's always out of order.
All you got to do is wait them out. They'll go right back in that men's room.
And the thing is it's not such a dire emergency that you actually see them. I haven't seen one in a bathroom.
I have. I put 2 of them out of bathrooms because they come in there with these gaudy ass makeup on with a full beard, acting like they were just happy as hell with this cheesy ass smile on their damn face to be standing in the women's bathroom just checking us out. And it was like, oh, hell no. I raised such stinking 2 truck stops bathroom. I just knew I was going to get banned from there, but I can still go back in there.
No, they're misogynists.
Well, there were women streamed out the damn door with their little girls trying to get in there to go to the bathroom. And this goofball standing there with his gaudy ass pink eyeshadow and blue eyeshadow, awful red lipstick, grinning with the beard, a full beard, as full as Dakota.
Wow.
Okay? No.
How are you doing,
That's
bro?
a pedophile in my book. That's a pedophile.
Yeah, it is.
That is not a transgender. That is a pedophile.
Well, not only that, it's sexual harassment. They weren't in there to use that if they were standing around just looking around and gawking. They were there to harass.
Yeah. And, well, guess what? They had the wrong old gal in there, and I had about 3 other women who had my back. We were putting them out of the bathroom.
Now, let me ask this. Was this in a truck stop bathroom?
Yes.
Okay, out in the middle of nowhere?
No.
No?
No. It was in Texas, both of them, within 30 miles of each other.
Okay.
2 separate occasions.
But the thing is, I noticed that a lot of these sick things happen in like more remote areas where it takes police a little bit longer to get there.
What are you talking about? Our police are so freaking busy right now because they're dealing with illegals. Actually, keep calling the police. That our police are ineffective. Our EMS system is heavy right now because they get here. Girl, we had a freaking illegal walking through, just showed up our door. They're sitting walking through neighborhoods and saying, "Hey, I need cash. Want me to, just pick up trash or something? Anything you need me to do to take out?" I'm just like, no. And I know where they drop them off over here at the Shell station off the 290. I've seen them in buses, and he just ended up in my neighborhood.
Yeah, they're dropping them wherever they can stick them.
Yep. And I will say this on that issue. My congressman's been working, but the fact is that he doesn't get the support that he can from the rhinos. That's the problem.
Right.
Okay. Well, let's
keep going.
There's no further debate. The questions on adoption of the amendment offered by Mr. Banks. So many in favor will say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Opinion chair, the ayes have it.
Well, is that
Reported
about
votes
it from this
requested,
section?
reported vote, it will be postponed.
Then we're going
we will
right
now
into the
consider
next
log
one.
number 3622R2 by Mr. Gates of Florida. What purpose?
Okay. Well, so they had 2 sessions and 2 hearings, and since this one is finishing up, because again, y'all can go watch the NDAA if you want. Again, it's very, very long, but we will probably be finishing up later this week with the NDAA and reviewing it because there's it gets way heated in another section towards the second part of the NDAA hearing.
Right.
So it was insane what I saw. It was just it. And that's what it is it's like the lady in the white jacket last time. She was emotionally charging her answer without actually answering to which side that she was on. You know, the fact she was sharing a personal experience.
Yeah, with Miss Houlihan, that was.
Yeah,
her
Miss
name.
Houlihan. She
Yeah.
was saying a personal experience that I've never thought about the bathroom before. Well, that could go both ways, Houlihan. That you shouldn't think about a man coming into your bathroom anymore, or the fact that you could sit there and say, hey, well, I'm not going to think of a bathroom and I want it normal. It could go both ways. And that's what I hate about these fuckers. Answer the damn questions. Give clear, concise messaging, because that's what's sitting here backing up Congress and freaking the Senate, is because no one's giving clear answers. And I'm getting tired of it too, because when I work with the Veterans House Committee of Veteran Affairs, when they sit there and say, hey, we'll get back to you and we'll get you that information, we'll get back to you, give you that information. You know what I do? I call and I ask for that information. And you know what the fuck I get told? Put it out in a press release. No, I want the list of the names too. I want the list of the budget. If the VA is going to turn it over to my boss, the head of the VA, or the chair of the Department of Veteran Affairs, I want, since it was supposed, that question was asked in that hearing, and that information was supposed to be answered on that hearing, I want that information in my email. Send it. But now and that's where I'm getting flakes with some of these Republicans. Why can't I have that information? That's what that hearing's for. Why can't I get it when they say they get back to you? So that's some of our feelings on our Republicans, is the transparency.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not just the Republicans, it's the Democrats too. I mean, you've got your good and your bad on both sides. And then you have your conservative Democrats and your conservative Republicans, but you also have your liberal Democrats and you have your liberal Republicans.
And
it's a bitch trying to have to deal with all of them.
Yeah, but what I'm wondering is this, because I don't even know a single person that asks these questions to Congress like I ask. I was like, because I cite my source. I was like, okay, I watched the House committee of this. You asked this question. And they're like, yes, we did ask that question. Okay, so when that report comes in, can I have it too, since it was there? But the thing is I'm realizing no one's asking Congress those questions either. They're not asking for hearing reports. And the fact is I'm realizing, okay, I'm just standing alone asking this question in America. And they're like, and even they're surprised about it. Here's the thing is that when I talk to federal representatives, I tell them I actually watch the hearings. And I watch them all the time. And they're like, wow. Because no one ever does it. They're surprised.
No one calls into these places. No one goes into their representatives' offices. No one comes in with legit concerns or solutions to fix any of this. Everyone is just bitching on social media, and they expect their congressmen to get back onto them on that.
Well, they expect their congressmen and representatives to actually see them on social media.
Oh, yeah. How stupid can you be? It's for them to relate to you. I'm going to be tell the truth. I do get responded to by Morgan on social media, but it's usually a like.
Yeah,
that's it. He never talks to me back. Yeah, that's about it.
These representatives aren't sitting in an office on a computer on Twitter all day.
No,
they have real work that needs to be done.
But I'll say this is that my congressman knows that I do watch him on everything he does, because I have the responsibility as a patriot, as an American, to do my due diligence and know what's going on in my district. And no one, and if you go to town halls, no one knows what's going on in the district. No one's knows what's really going, what Morgan Luttrell's doing. And he's very transparent. He has his whiteboard Wednesdays. He shows the letters that he writes to us. And then no one really reads the emails. He was late to his whiteboard Wednesday last week, and I was upset about that. I really was. I was like, oh, when he put it on Thursday, it's like, oh, thank God, I was waiting for that.
Here's the thing to anybody who watches this: if you need to pass anything onto your congressman to be brought up in Congress, an issue that you need addressed, they cannot do a damn thing until they have from you a privacy release form.
You have to fill it out. Ooh, and guys, letting you know, don't type shit up. Hand walk it in a letter in ink. They love that. Handwrite your stuff. Okay, but they do take emails, and even in the emails, I've had it to where they don't respond. I see Ted Cruz respond. I came to him about my pregnancy problems, and he didn't respond to me until after the baby was born. That's BS. Well, guys, we're coming up on our time since we're already going to do this. We're going to schedule the remainder of the NDAA probably later this week. Mama Sally, you're more than welcome to come on. Thank you for joining us again
Thank you for having me.
And thank you guys for joining us tonight. And y'all have a very good week next week. Y'all take care.
Oh, God bless.
Love your God.
God bless you.
And love your military. Take care.